of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And guide her through the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans wide we flow. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
All right, Mary, thank you so much. I don't believe we have any visiting Rotarians or guests with us today. Have we missed anyone? Okay. So we have just a few announcements here. Is Harold Bennett here or online?
He's online.
I'm online, Rod.
Harold has an announcement about the golf tournament. Harold, bear with us just one moment.
Can you hear me?
Harold, let's see if we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So I've got an update about our golf tournament. It's less than 2 weeks away. So far, we've got about $18,000 registered from our total golfers of 90. We do need some help. We need help taking down 3 tents on the course and bringing them back to Dorcas. And we need 2 people to help us do that. Should be around 3:30 p.m. that Monday. So anybody who's able to come out and help, that would be greatly appreciated. And other than that, we're hoping for good weather, and we'll get back next week with any updates to this.
Alrighty. Great progress on the golf tournament. Thank you so much, Harold, to you and Chris for your leadership on that. If we have any takers on helping take those tents down, that would be great. Just raise your hand and we'll get working. Chris will reach out to him. Thank you for that. A couple of other announcements. First of all, again, I just want to remind everybody to be safe as we're here to gather today. Let's observe the 3 W's. Wash your hands, wear your mask when you're not eating, and please watch your distance. And Jim Lovejoy, a quick announcement on our t-shirts.
Yes, this is a last chance to get a nice golf shirt like this, or like what President-elect Rod is wearing for the golf tournament. I'm putting it in order, so see me after the meeting or email me, and we, sorts of colors and sizes, and you don't have to pay right now. We'll get to it eventually.
All right, thank you, Jim. Get your t-shirt orders in today. We do not have a sergeant at arms today, but I'd like to invite any miracle moments here while we're gathered. Any miracle moments from the room?
I have one.
Gail.
I finally closed on my house, y'all, yesterday.
Oh, congratulations, Gail. Fantastic. Ron Stanley.
Molly and I will be celebrating anniversary number 53. Laura and I will be celebrating on Thursday our 48th wedding anniversary.
Well, since we're on a roll with that, I'm sorry.
Yep, I'd like to, it will be a miracle next Monday when 160,000 students enter our schools. 10,000 will be in virtual, the rest of them will be in person in some form. and ask for your prayers and support for our educators and students. It's an interesting conundrum in that the county strategy to reduce the impact of COVID is to separate people. The school district has to bring people together in order to educate them. So we're working in that dynamic. Both parties are very interested in helping students stay safe and healthy. And I think what you'll see in the schools will be small groups of students, like 4 students, who learn together, go to lunch together, go to recreation, recess together. So if one of those is infected, then that's a small group that we need to send home in quarantine as opposed to an entire classroom. So you're going to see those kinds of strategies in place so that we can provide a great education to kids this coming year.
Good. Thank you, Bill. Paul?
Yeah, I'm not there yet, 48, 52, whatever, just 40. Kind of shy even admitting it, but just want to say that my wife and I are having our 40th anniversary coming up on Sunday.
And since we're on a roll with anniversaries, I will say that Cary and I celebrated our 18th wedding anniversary yesterday. So. All right. Well, at this point, I'm delighted to welcome Pat Hudson to the podium here to introduce our speaker. Welcome, Pat.
And I'm happy to introduce our speaker today, Charles Taylor, and I have Paul Wassel College to thank for this, because when Paul was volunteering to do vaccines, this is how he met Charles. So Charles says, first of all, it's very important that he's a Christian. He was born and raised in Snowville, North Carolina. He was an Eagle Scout. He graduated from Campbell in 1991 with a degree in communications. He's in the midst of his 4th and final term with the Sanford Town Council. And he served as a member of the North Carolina Mining and Energy Commission 2013 through 15. He attends Hope Community Church in Raleigh, and he has over 34 years of extensive television background. He's currently a graphics producer for Raycom, ACC Network, as well as other various networks such as ESPN, CBS, NBC Sports, Fox Sports. And he says that if you have additional questions, he will be around to answer. Charles?
It's good to be here. It's good to see some familiar faces. And I was joking with Mr. Ralph about having hot dogs for lunch, and he didn't come through, so we'll have to go down and see him. It is, first of all, I'll be remiss if I didn't point out to the contribution that your club, and it just goes to prove, you know, I see Bill Fletcher and some other people that I've seen in the past and dealt with in the past. Your club far extends beyond McGregor Downs. And it wasn't for the contribution of Paul serving in Sanford. I had gotten my 2nd shot. I was on the way to NCAA swimming. I had swimming start at 1 o'clock that afternoon. And I got my 2nd shot at Civic Center. And I'm in that holding cell for about 10 to 15 minutes to make sure I don't respond differently. Only to get to Greensboro for the NCAA championships. And about 4 o'clock, I just fire engine red. My face was bright red. But it only lasted for about 30 minutes and I was fine. But I just, it dawned on me, and I gave him my card. I said, if I could come help you, if I could come speak for you, share a program with you, be glad to do that. But I just thank you for your service, because this is the reason you're the backbone of our communities. And I'll be remiss if I didn't take time to say that up front, that your club is far more reaching. You're in Lee County, believe it or not. Your club's in Lee County. So we thank you for that. We'll give you a little bit different perspective today. If you advance, there you go, yeah, right there. The agenda for today, I'm gonna talk about, because I'm gonna tell you, everything always boils back to money, right? So we're gonna talk about, I'm gonna try to set the stage for you, the first 7 slides. This talk originally began as a talk about behind the scenes of ACC basketball, but I'm gonna give you a little bit different perspective. I'm gonna set the table for you first as to why before the Olympics, the week before the Olympics, you hear on WRAL, contact or move your service to Spectrum because they're direct TV. Tell them that you want local channels. I am a big proponent of local television. We grew up with the Charlie Gaddys of the world. We grew up with the Bob Layton's of the world. And without them, I wouldn't have the career I've had in ACC basketball, because many times I've been on WRL with Selwood the Pilot or the Raycom Sports, and they were our carrier in this area. So I'm gonna talk about the money game. I'm gonna talk about what goes into each game. I'm gonna talk about our schedule and what truck, give you a couple of pictures on what the trucks, and we'll talk about some graphics as well. Okay, let's talk about the money game. I just want to talk about a couple of deals that I was going to show you, because this is going to make sense to you when you see what's really happening with the dollars behind sports. Don't feel sorry because there's no fans in the stand. There's money that's being made with these contracts. I promise you that. Right now, I looked at the latest numbers that Carolina got. I think it's $34 million from the ACC directly, and then another $10 to $12 million to the ACC Network contract. So that accounts for about 40% of their budget. So, you know, sponsorships, endowments, and all that helps out. That helps out the system. The old NBA deal, just to give you an idea, was $930 million a year. The new deal that was done in 2014 went up to $2.7 billion. So that's a pretty good return on investment, isn't it? By comparison, when the deal was done, it was a 21% increase over the previous deal. So you have had well over 200% increase in these contracts. You can advance, Gail. I'd like to point out our lovely assistant over there, Gail, punching the buttons there. She said she earned her degree at Georgia doing this, so that's good. MLB Fox, just to give you an idea, that contract's in place to 2022, $500 million a year. That was a 39% increase over the previous contract. NCAA, CBS, and Turner was $771 million. If you look, they've already extended that deal again. The new one is $8.8 billion for 8 years. That was a 33% increase. Sunday night NFL, $3.1 billion. It was 1.94 previously. Again, this is why your cable bill, this is why over $7 of your cable bill goes to ESPN. I just want to be honest with you. I'm laying it out here for you. And I won't go on to you can see the NFL and the AFC numbers. I do want to point out the Thursday night football deal with CBS. It was $300 million. The new one is now 650. On January 2015 was 650, and the latest one is $1 billion. NFL contract, which is interesting. How do you monetize Twitter? Interesting concept. $10 million a year, and that's divided out over the teams. If you go to the next slide, ACC Network contract was done in 2012, $1.86 billion for 12 years. And that's going to be renegotiated in 26-27. What you're hearing now is an alliance in football. It's very likely going to happen in the NCAA. You're going to have situations where your liberties or your small schools, even the Coastal Carolinas and all that, will not be played in non-conference, because you're going to start out like Georgia. You're going to face Clemson right off the bat. The big fish are going to stay in the big pond. Okay. The small fish are going to be out. What that means, you take Appalachian State, for instance. Appalachian State, when they went to LSU to play football, and they actually lost by like 6 or 8 points. They got a $1.2 million check for going down there and playing. But the problem is they didn't expect the game that they got at LSU, so kind of pulled back on scheduling these type of teams. ACC Network is doing very well. One thing that happened that ACC Network did that the SEC Network didn't have, they launched pretty much and started developing during a COVID year, or they were 1 year before COVID. So guess what happens? Everybody was in their house watching TV, wanting to have some type of sport, any type of activity, whether it's cornhole. Cornhole, by the way, made its premiere on ESPN platform. It had 10 million viewers. Totally shocked them. They had no idea that Cherokee, North Carolina would produce 10 million viewers on one event. So what happened with Raycom in particular, that's who handles a lot of my booking, is we lost. I did 23 straight Battle of the Blues. Those games were gone. That's my favorite game of the year. That was our Super Bowl. But as you can see, what it does is generate another revenue stream for the universities, so they don't have to dip into the endowments. And most of the schools, like NC State, came in and put in $2.1 million for a television facility. So now we don't have TV trucks doing some of the ACC games there. Most of them are done in-house. And most of these venues can go to softball, they can go to baseball, they can go to even beach volleyball now. And they can air these on games without having TV truck infrastructure there or manpower. A lot of them are being run by students now. And one thing that bothers me from a financial standpoint, from a career standpoint, I think it's giving a lot of false hope for some kids that think they're going to get out of college and get into an industry where people have been there 30, 40 years. And quite frankly, I can tell you, when the ACC Network launched, when the Raycom kind of relationship ended with the ACC, there were 5 of us that had been in it over 30 years. So they're still, some of them are still doing camera work after 30, 40 years. So to give you an idea of what you're dealing with. If you would advance scale, the money game, just a little snapshot at NASCAR. Any NASCAR fans here? Guess what? NASCAR is having a very tough time right now. They're fighting some issues off the track, but they're also fighting a lot of issues on the track. You can see though, where Fox paid $380 million for the contract in 2015, their ad revenue was $397. So if you don't have the viewership to watch the race, how do you sell the ads to advertise on the race? Big questions out there. So the numbers, their attendance averages, you look at the attendance averages. This is going to look very similar to a number I'm about to point out about ESPN subscribers. The attendance averages went from 130,000 in 2007 to 2018 down to 67,000. And 2020, they had how many fans? None. Think about it. They didn't have anybody in the audience. In conjunction to that, during the time from 2007 to 2018, ticket prices dropped 17%. Because guess what? They want people in the seats. If you advance to the next one, this is the slide that really gets, because every time I update this presentation, I spend more time on this one, and it's the one that's changed the most. Anybody subscribe to DirecTV here? Anybody have a DirecTV? Anybody cut the cord in the last 5 years? Look at the hands. This is you're no different than everybody else in America. DirecTV, February 2015, they had an increase of 14%. Streaming has increased by $75 a year, up to $9 a month for streaming. So guess what? Everybody's doing what? They have a smart TV. They're watching it over the internet and they're streaming. What has happened though, the streaming numbers have shot up, but the subscription numbers have gone down. DirecTV they lost 473,000 users in Q2 of this year. 473,000. Now, think about running a business and doing a P&L on this. You can't really predict anything. And keep in mind that the advertising executives have to be out way up front of these numbers. So they're working on numbers that are probably a half a year back. So the latest numbers in Q2 of 2021, 3 million subscribers in 2020 left DirecTV. And I'm not against DirecTV, but guess what? I'm moving DirecTV this week. 16 million current streaming numbers, subscribers. 436,000 to 1.6 million. That's what has happened. Is 1.6. It's 1.6. ESPN has lost 3 million subscribers since February of 2017. At their peak, they were at 100 million subscribers. And now they're down below 80 million. So what does that mean for your money? Because you see the trend, the contracts to the NBA, Major League Baseball, everything has gone, that's doubled and tripled in most cases. The subscriber base has gone down. So what do you think the third equation is?
How do you think?
What happens to your price? It goes up. So I wanted to kind of put this in. So right now it's costing you $7.64 per month out of your cable bill goes to ESPN. Whether you look at it 1 minute or 20 hours a day, you're still paying $7.64 per month. Last year it was $6.21. 2011 it's $4.69. You see a trend here? Trend's going up. So one thing that they've done that has been further exacerbated by COVID was what they call REMIs. That's having a broadcast where the announcers are not even there, the director's there, but producer's not there, and we're in the friendly confines of our home. For the Olympics, how many announce crews were actually on site in Tokyo? Any idea?
1,600.
Take a guess of an actual event crews. 4 event crews: basketball, track and field, gymnastics, swimming. Everything else was done in Sanford, Connecticut. And some of it was done in Sanford, North Carolina, because I was on part of that crew. But mine was not what you see. I did what they call integrity. But that gives you an idea of where we're headed. So many of our games this year, I think I've got the record. I told people I'm the most negative person in Lee County. From August to March, I had 66 COVID tests. My nose was sore. I got tired of joining a Zoom call to do a saliva test. But that was the nature of the beast. COVID has impacted us in so many ways. It's become less personal. I do my meetings with the coaches before the game over FaceTime. And I'm looking at him across the court, and he's looking at me across the court, and we're talking about what they're going to do in the game. We have at TV trucks. I did the Miami UNC football game last year when Carolina ran for about 1 million yards rushing. I think they had 200-yard rushers that game. And then the next day I had the CBS Kansas City Chiefs Miami Dolphins game. And to be in one, even on Saturday, I couldn't go from our game day truck. I couldn't go into the CBS truck that I was working in the next day. That's how bad it's gotten, is that they know where we're at all time. I did a lot with USA Swimming prior to the Olympics. And on my badge, they have where I was. There was a chip on it to tell you how long I was in the bathroom, how long I was in the eating, where I was, who I was in contact with. So it's become a lot less personal. And we're doing things entirely different than we've ever done it before. If you'll skip, Gail, the next 2 slides, I'm going to show you, you should see, go one more. Actually, 2 more. There you go. So this is post-COVID. As you can see, there's a lot of plexiglass. So this is where I was sitting during the game. In fact, you see me on this middle bench there. Don't point me out. This is the sign of the times. On this particular truck, we lost our engineer in the fall after 2020 of COVID. He contracted COVID and died 2.5 weeks later. So this is real. When they say your name's on the door and you don't go in that door without, you don't. As you can see, the picture on the right is our friendly people that I saw for 16 straight days of NCAA swimming. And it's just gotten crazy to the point that you're respecting the process. And it's not what it used to be. So let's transition a little bit. And if you have questions about what I just talked about, I can go back and deal with that after the meeting. I just want to go through what goes on and getting us on the air. One thing that you've seen fundamentally change is like the NBA. In the past, I would do 20 Hurricanes games a year. I would do 16 Boston Celtics games a year. I would do Pittsburgh preseason football, Steelers football, 4 games a year. And I would do roughly, 20 to 25 NBA games a year. What you've seen in the professional sports is like when the Hurricanes are playing Tampa Bay Lightning, the home crew is doing the broadcast here, but it's being fed from Tampa Bay. The announcers are not in Tampa Bay. The announcers at top of PNC Arena doing a game in front of 5 or 6 monitors. What that's done though here locally is cut out half of your crew, because no longer do you need the visitor feed crew to do the game. The visitors are sending their signal back to Tampa Bay or vice versa. So same thing happened with NBA. Same things happen with all the professional sports. They're keeping the home crews based at home. They're amongst each other for a period of time, and it doesn't change. So that's one step change. What that's done though, you take a TV truck, you're looking at, this is actually a low number, it's probably closer to $10,000 to $12,000 now. $7,500, $8,500 just to get the truck there and the engineer. That's before you even plug it in. And that's not counting satellite feed and everything else. All in all, before your average ACC basketball game, you're looking at about $28,000 before the first word is spoken. So when you do this, think about the math for a Hurricane. You do this over 80 games a year, it adds up significant money. So you're going to see a step change in that. The broadcast quality is still the same. So what they do to cover for the visitors, they add 2 more camera guys or gals. They add them to the broadcast, and the only thing that they're doing is going to shoot Hurricane stuff whenever they're playing down in Tampa Bay. So it makes a lot of sense. It's a good business model. What's happened though, COVID has expedited that happening. We were headed that direction to begin with. COVID put the nail in the coffin. Scroll to your next slide here. Thank you. Typical schedule, just to give you an idea, 9 o'clock tip off. When do I show up for work? Typically about 2:30, but my work begins long before that. The busiest college basketball season I ever had, I did 48 games in 76 days. I didn't know where I was coming or going. I left clothes at a hotel because I was going to be coming back there 3 days later. But doing them back to back to back requires, there's so much work. So it's easier once you have a team. This year I start my first game off at South Carolina, November 4th or September 4th. So you don't know your schedule. A lot of times we're on a 7 to 10 day schedule because ESPN may say, Clemson's playing really good right now, and Georgia Tech's playing really good right now, so we're going to take the Clemson Georgia Tech game. They got a 7-day option on that, so our schedule may change from 7 days out. So typically we're there about 7 hours before game time. We set up, do our graphics. Everybody's got their responsibilities. We talk about the storylines. We talk to the coaches. We know what they're doing. If I don't have a game the night before, I'm at the practices with the announcers. We talk about what we want to do, what we want to highlight, where we're going with the broadcast. We record the opening a lot of times 20 minutes before the game. Reason being, we don't cover the national anthem anymore. The last time I covered the national anthem was at Duke. And the lady sings the national anthem, and right in the middle, she forgot the words. And I'm gonna tell you, it is gutless whenever you're going through a broadcast and you can't help somebody out. You're right in the middle of it. She got off the floor, and after that, we never really covered the national anthem anymore. And a lot of times now the arenas go dark, so it's kind of hard to come back on the air when your screen is dark. So you record the opening, so everybody gets a little bit of break before game, because you can't just get up in the middle of the game and get to the restroom. You're in the seat during the timeouts, during the breaks. And we usually, on a 9 o'clock game, we're usually completed by 11:30 p.m. I'm gonna breeze through these because I spent the right amount of time on the first batch of slides, and I want to go through these pretty quickly. The trucks, I want to show you these trucks. The picture on the left is that Kansas City Chiefs Dolphins game, also the Miami Carolina game. There was a game day broadcast. There was a total of 15 trucks in the compound. So you do 15 times $10,000. You got a good idea of what a 1 day rate is on these trucks. And they're there for 2 days, 3 days typically. If you keep going, touch through this. That's the soundboard for our NASCAR on Fox. Just to give you an idea. That guy is Wendell Stevens. Wendell is he's done most of the last 5 or 10 Super Bowls. He mixes the audio. What he's known for is Monday Night Football. When you go to break, you hear local music. You may hear REM if you're in Athens, Georgia, going to break because they're going to be in Georgia or Atlanta. Wendell also is known. We worked together at Jefferson Pilot days, and he's the one that he plays Selwood Pilot. Even today, if we do a broadcast, he plays that before the game's going. Let's keep going through this. This is the nerve cell. You see this before, the producer, director, the AD. This is the setup I did at Pittsburgh, Baltimore game. This is the NFL setup. You see all the monitors at the top. So we're watching a lot of different angles. That's from the front bench. Keep going. That was my producer station for NFL game I did with CBS. Keep going. That's the front bench view. That is a front bench of one of the Super Bowl show last year. That tells you an idea what the TD is doing at that point. Keep going. This is from the middle bench. That's my view. Of course, that was me sitting in an ACC game. Keep going. Fox Box, that's what you see the strip at the bottom that changes the score. It's got sponsorships on it and all that. Tape area, when you see replays that WRL may use or any of the schools use, they get it from this. That's where a replay. So I see a play and I want to see 4 different angles of it. Give you a good example. Pittsburgh, Bradley Chubb 3 years ago dislocated his finger in the 3rd quarter of the game. I had that game. It was NC State Pittsburgh. And I called it when I saw what happened. I saw him grab his hand, but his pinky was dislocated badly. And we went to the replay. We had 3 different angles of it. And I didn't show it again because we bailed out of it because there's no need of showing a grotesque injury like that. So we bailed out of it. I got off the air. I looked on YouTube, and before we even got off the air, that somebody had DVR'd the game, had clipped that file, and had posted it on YouTube, and it showed his finger coming out the opposite direction. So again, people are watching us, and they're putting content up before we even get off the air. Let's breeze through these. Shot from this back to take. Go back one. Keep going forward. Sorry. That 400 people, just to give you an idea on the Final Four. That was done 2 years ago. 48 cameras. It tells you they had 25 tape machines, 400 staff members. It takes an army to put these games on. Keep going. That's NFL. Keep going. Another view of tape. Engineering. That gives you an idea of Spectrum Center down in Charlotte. That's what the audio cables and the video cables look like. It's a mess. Very quick, we'll touch on graphics for about 2 minutes, and then we'll be done here. Keep going. So, can y'all see this good enough back there? What's the mistake here? Anybody tell me?
This top 25.
No, look at item number 14, top right column.
Mexico.
Mexico. When did Mexico get NCAA? This happened at Boston College. To tell you what kind of friends I have, I actually got 3 phone calls saying, "Are you working Boston College today?" I said, "No, thank God." So I went back and looked at it. Before I even looked at it, it was already online that Mexico joined NCAA.
They did? I didn't know.
So this is what I see during the game typically. Keep going. All right, let's talk. One more. All right, you see the picture to the left? That is a grid. So I'm gonna make this very simple. You got 2 minutes? Is that right? 1 or 2 minutes? Okay. I'm gonna make this simple. If you're a visitor team, Michael Jordan's number at UNC was what? 23. If he was a visitor, his shells on graphics would belong at 123, 323, 523, 723, 923. So if I want to do his fouls, it will be 123, or bio will be at 123. At 330, the 323 will be his season numbers. 523 will be his in-game numbers. So Michael Jordan gets fouled, goes to the line. I tell my operator, put 323 on the front channel, put 523 on the back channel, and I'm updating his points. So on 323, there's nothing to update because it's a season number. So that's already, that airs when he shoots his first free throw. And if I'm fast enough, I go 523, I update his numbers with that free throw that he just made 5 seconds before the end. We sit on it and punch it and it's ready to go. That's how graphics work. We don't sit there and type their names out each time. It's already pre-built. So if Michael Jordan is playing on a home team, what do you think his number will be? 223, 223, 423, 623, 823, 1023. So I can pull up any of those shells that's going to have Michael Jordan's name on it. All right, keep going. We have codes for each team. If BC is number 2 code, what do you think Clemson will be alphabetically? 3. So whenever we want to change the logo or change the name, we put the code in and it will pop the names in. Keep going. And you see the drive charts and all that. That's all what I do there. That gives you an idea of that chart I just mentioned. This is my sheet. This is my plan the whole game. Keep going. We'll scroll through these. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. That's some of my Celtic stuff. Pittsburgh Steelers. Try to get creative. Any Duke fans? That was a Duke game. Keep going. All right. 2 individuals on the bottom left. You've seen them at games. You see Freddie Kiger every time they show a coach on a court. Freddie Kiger's done this for over 35 years. John Madry has done it over 35 years. And I'm at 34 years. So we've got a lot of years between us. And we can finish up here. That's what they use for their sheets. They're keeping the stats and keep it a hard copy because computers go down. But if you want to come through, and we'll play through these later on, but I wanted to thank you, and I can take a few minutes for questions. I'll be glad to stay around and talk, and we can go through some slides if you need to. But I'm glad to be here. I hope that I gave you a little bit of perspective, especially the business side, because it makes sense as to why we're doing what we're doing now, so far as broadcast is concerned. Yes, sir.
When you have all those screens up there, I was thinking of the Super Bowl one with like 30 screens. Who decides which one to cut in on? Is there one person?
Yes, you got a director. The director there is absolutely phenomenal. And there's a rhythm to it. The director works with the technical director. So the technical director has a big board that he punches the camera. So you'll hear the director saying, take camera 13 with font 1. So that will put Ben Roethlisberger's numbers on Ben on the field warming up. So he's calling that, and it's really a rhythm for those guys. So the better relationship you have between a director and technical director, it's seamless. I mean, a lot of times, with the ones we work with, the technical director is punching before the director even knows it, because they know what they're looking for, what kind of angles they go with. Any other questions? Yes,
We're
sir.
gonna let you stay around and answer
Okay.
questions.
Absolutely.
But we have a gift for you from Jerry Miller, who's a charter
He's a
member of
Lee,
this
he's
club.
also a Lee County boy. I want to tell you about that.
Some of his drawings of the Cary area.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Been a pleasure. I made it through without hitting that bottle, by the way.
Charles, thank you so much. Let's see, just as we wrap up here, there was one anniversary that was not mentioned earlier. I'm looking at you, Bruce, you would be able. Let's see, 56 years. Congratulations. August 21st. So our program next week is Scott Rawls. He's president of Wake Tech, and we thank Bruce for arranging him to come speak to us. Our next week's meal, and Bob said, don't mess this up, Rod. Chicken marsala over wild rice and green beans. So look forward to that. Our program in 2 weeks, David Coulter will be introducing Kids Notes to us, a great organization. With that, thanks everybody for being here, both in person as well as online. Thank you all. Charles, thank you for sharing an amazing perspective into something that I'm sure we all take for granted as we're watching sports. And by the way, we did not spend $10,000 on our technical setup here. But thank you so much for being with us today. And with that, Ken, I'll ask Ken Timon to come up and lead us out of the 4-way test. Come on up.
Well, here's the 4-way test of things we think, we say, and do. First, in the is very officer,
Can y'all hear us? Are y'all listening?
Good job, you're gonna get a bonus.
Yeah. Okay. Can y'all hear us on the iPad? Okay, I'm trying to get on the TV. Can anybody hear us?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
That's what we gotta do. Okay, thanks y'all for helping. Okay. Some note for the next person. So that we don't have this again. All right. On the,
Still recording, you gotta stop.
oh, I have to stop recording so that they don't know how remedial I am.